Okay, so multiplying and dividing numbers in polar form. So if Z1 equals R1 cos A plus I sin A, and Z2 equals R2 cos B plus I sin B, then Z1 Z2 equals R1 R2 bracket cos A plus B plus I sin A plus B. Therefore the modulus of Z1 Z2 is equal to Z1 multiplied by Z2, and the argument of Z1 Z2 equals argument Z1 plus argument Z2. Okay, so what we're looking at here is when we multiply two complex numbers that are in polar form, what we do is we just multiply the modulus values by each other, and then we just simply add the angles together to get A plus B, and we add the angles together twice. So we're going to see this in action now in a second, okay, regards multiplying. So what we can take here would be question, we could take basically any question we want here. So take question 2 as an example. So in question 2, the modulus of each one is 1 and 1. Okay, so the above modulus of 1. So R1 equals 1, R2 equals 1. So R1 multiplied by R2 is 1 multiplied by 1, which equals 1. Next we have cos A plus B. A is 139, B is 41. So we're going to get cos 180, and then we're going to get plus I sin 180. Okay, and what happens here is that we're going to multiply what cos 180 is. Cos 180 is minus 1, sin 180 is 0. So it's minus 1 plus 0I, which is simply minus 1. That's the answer for question 2. Now, for question 4, for example, question 4, we can once again make a list. R1 is 3, R2 is 5, then we have A is 4 pi over 3, and B is 2 pi over 3. Now first of all, let's go back into it. It's going to be R1 by R2, which is going to be 15, and then it's going to be bracket cos A plus B. Now cos A plus B is 4 pi over 3 plus 2 pi over 3. You can just enter this into the calculator each time if you want. So 4 pi over 3 plus 2 pi over 3. And then what we get there is 2 pi. So it's going to be cos 2 pi plus I sin 2 pi. Now this time if you want, we can do it at a calculator in radians if you want. So we just go to mode, setup. We can do radian mode here. So we get 15 cos 2 pi. So 15 cos 2 pi is 15. And then we're going to have 15 sin 2 pi. So I'll just replace the cos with a sin, and we get 0. So 15 plus 0I, which is simply 15. So question 4 is going to be 15. Now then you can do the same thing with question 6 if you want. So in question 6, once again, just make your list. R1 equals 2, R2 equals 8. You see the 2 and the 8 here. Then we have A equals the angle in the first one, which is 3 pi over 10. B equals pi over 5. We'll just find out what A plus B is just while we're here. So it's going to be it's going to be 3 pi over 10, so 3 pi over 10, 3 pi divided by 10, plus 5 pi over 5, and we can see what A plus B is a half pi, or pi over 2. So let's put into the calculator. Once again, just using this formula here. So we're going to have R1 multiplied by R2, which is 2 multiplied by 8, which is 16. Then we're going to have cos A plus B, so it's going to be cos A plus B, which is pi over 2. And then plus I sine pi over 2. Now we got to do 16 multiplied by cos pi over 2. So 16 cos pi over 2. And what we get here is 0. And then 16 sine pi over 2. Just replace that with a sine. Then what we get here is 16. So 0 plus 16i, which is simply going to be 16i. So the answer number 6 is 16i. Okay. So what we're going to have next is moving on towards question 9. So we can see these ones here. So what we're looking at doing here is the fraction part. Okay, so once again we're going to look at these questions here, the likes of question 10 and 11, and just make sure we're not, so what we have in this one is basically R1. Once again, R1 is going to equal 8, A is going to equal 3 pi over 2, R2 equals 4, B is going to equal pi over 2, and this time we're looking for A minus B regards division. So this is division of complex numbers, so A minus B is going to simply be 3 pi over 2 minus pi over 2 gives me 2 pi over 2, which equals pi. So put it into this general equation here. R1 divided by R2 is going to be 8 divided by 4. Then it's going to be brackets cos pi plus I sine pi. And then 8 over 4 becomes 2. 2 multiplied by cos pi. So 2 cos pi is minus 2. And then 2 sine pi is going to be 0. So the answer to question 10 is simply minus 2. Now look at question 11 here. Question 11. Once again, we're just going to change our numbers here. So this time around, what we're going to have is R1 is 24. R2 is 8, A is 303, B is 33, A minus B is 270. Now before I do this, I have to make sure that my setup is in degrees, okay? So now all of a sudden it doesn't work for radians anymore. So we're going to do R1 minus R1 over R2. Okay, so R1 over R2 is going to be 24 over 8, which gets me 3. 3 bracket cos A minus B. A minus B is cos 270 plus I sine 270. Put that into the calculator, so we're going to get 3 cos 220, cos 270 that is 0. And then sine 270 is going to be minus 3. So it's going to be 0 minus 3i, which is simply going to be minus 3i. Okay, so that's question 11 done. Now, moving on. Express each of these in rectangular form. So, let's do number 13 as an example. Okay, so number 13, I'm going to say that R1 is 2, R2 is 5, A is pi over 9, B is 2 pi over 9. Then I'm going to use the formula R1, R2, cos A plus B because it's multiply, plus I sine a plus b. So what we're going to get is 10, because 2 multiplied by 5 is 10. Then we're going to get cos pi over 9 plus 2 pi over 9 is going to give you 3 pi over 9, which is the same thing as pi over 3. Plus I sine pi over 3. Then I'm going to look down here, and what we're going to do next is we're going to change my calculator back to radian mode. And then what we're going to get is cos 10 cos pi over 3. We're going to get 5. And then the other one, it's going to be sine. And you're going to get plus 5 root 3i. So there we go, number 13 being 5 plus 5 root 3i. Okay, so what we have here once again is question 15, okay? Once again I'm going to say R1 equals 6, A equals 7 pi all over 6, R2 equals 3, B equals pi over 6. This is division of complex numbers, so we're going to be using A minus B. So A minus B is 7 pi over 6 minus pi over 6, which is 6 pi over 6, which is the same thing as pi. You can put that in the calculator to find out. So R1 divided by R2, as shown in this part here. R1 divided by R2 is 6 divided by 3, which is 2. So 6 divided by 3 gives us 2. Now we're going to have cos A minus B, which is cos pi plus I sine pi. And 2 cos pi, anybody? So 2 cos pi, once again it's in radians, so 2 cos pi. And what we get there is minus 2. And 2 I sine pi, so just 2 sine pi. And we go there, and we get 0. So it's minus 2 plus 0i, which just means 15 is just going to be minus 2 plus 0i. Okay? Now, what about number 16? Once again, you're just going to fill out the same table. Okay, so we're just going to get rid of our last values in the last question. And then number 16, we're dealing with degrees. So we have R1 is 15, R2 is 5, A is 312, B is 52, A minus B is 270. So we're going to get R1 divided by R2 is 15 divided by 5, which is 3. 3 bracket cos A minus B, which is 270, plus I sine 270. So 3 cos 270 is going to be, now this is because we haven't put the settings back to degrees. Degree is number 3. Let's try this again. And it's 0 this time around, so it's going to be 0 plus, and it's going to be 3 times sine 270, and that's going to get me minus 3i. So it's going to be 0 minus 3i. Okay, so that was question 16.